Welcome everybody. This is going to be another Kingdom Hearts video. This one is actually not going to be focused on like a breakdown of what we had before. We did this for Kingdom Hearts 3 where we did predictions on what we want to see out of Kingdom Hearts 3, maybe some expectations that we had. This one is actually going to be more I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Nick. I am joined
Mike.
by
and Travis.
There we go. And this is going to be more of predictions like those other video. And this one's going to be for Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC / Kingdom Hearts 4 predictions. So there is going to be spoilers. We are going to be talking about what happened at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, just as a heads up. But we're going to be focused on what we want to see out of, again, the next game, the next gameplay that we see coming out of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And to start things off, we're going to be talking about the trailer that didn't really reveal much when we saw it about the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC. They had one of the best jokes that I saw in one of the comments was the best voice acting ever because there was no voice acting.
That's fair.
But the things that I saw in the trailer that I thought was pretty noteworthy, one of the things was in the final maze segment that you had, again, you had different kind of sections that kind of sectioned them off by game, and you were doing the fights that were relevant to those games in particular. And all of those fights we were playing as Sora. It seems like this DLC might actually have it where we play as those other characters, where we play as Roxas, where we play as Aqua. And that's how we saw some of the gameplay. And then there also was a little questions about Xigbar and Luxord, where they're saying, who are you? Well, also, who are you? So, in short, nothing really was definitive, was really said in the trailer, if I had to say so. But if you're going to unpack that, what would you guys see in the DLC trailer that they gave that was very not helpful?
I don't know. I mean, deviating from the trailer a little bit, one of the things that we did learn through information from the trailer and outside of that is that it looks like Roxas, Aqua, and Riku are all playable characters.
Which would be amazing because that was one of our, well, at least one of my complaints in the breakdown.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess that's some information. I mean, the thing that I want to know, and I can make a assumption on what it might be, but we don't know for sure, is whether or not it's going to be something completely separate from the main game, whether it's going to be like an epilogue to the main game, or some people have mentioned maybe it's going to be like a fixed version, quote unquote, of the game, or like they take something from Kingdom Hearts 2 and they actually change how it ends. The name Reminds
cool.
maybe has some meaning that goes with that, you know, like the re and everything. I don't know exactly, but any of those three ideas would be interesting. It's just, I think people were hoping that this trailer would give some insight into which of those three it is, and it really didn't. I really have no idea which of those three it's going to fall into still, but
yeah, which we are going to make predictions on it. But I mean, as of right now, I think, yeah, the one thing that's pretty definitive is that there is going to be some kind of situation with Xigbar and Luxord, which, again, we haven't mentioned the ending yet, but if you remember the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, where Luxu has his hood up or whatnot, comes out with a black box and summons all of the former masters in the Kingdom Hearts back cover movie, and I believe it was all except for, I believe it was Ava, whoever one that was tasked with starting the Dandelions,
yeah,
which would be like the future generations of Keyblade wielders. And I believe, I'm not sure if it was confirmed, but I remember people talking about how Ventus was one of those Keyblade wielders, or one of the students, or something along those lines. But I know that in terms of, well, I guess we'll just throw out the spoilers. So spoilers here for the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. At the end of the game, it was revealed that Luxu, or who they called Luxu, was actually Xigbar. Xigbar was taking multiple different forms as he was going, as the game progressed. And we also always knew that Xigbar was, there's always a little bit more of a mystery, and there's always more of an intrigue about him particular in the Organization 13 when compared to a lot of the other members. Before I believe he was a disciple, maybe not disciple, but like a student of Ansem the Wise when he was Braig, and when he became when he had part of Xehanort in him, he became Xigbar when he became part of the organization. And that reveal was actually kind of big because, first of all, I didn't expect it. I thought it was a pretty good revelation to actually show that Xigbar did have a connection to something that happened in the very, very beginning of the Kingdom Hearts storyline. Like, those people were introduced as like the top of the storyline, and this is happening all the way at the end now, where they're finally tying that stuff in. So, in terms of predictions, I definitely think that there's going to be some kind of conflict between Xigbar and Luxord, but the question is what? We still don't know what's in the box. We still know what's in the box. We still know what's going on with Ava. And there wasn't really anything definitive that told us anything about the Dandelions in particular and who was going to be like the future Keyblade wielders and like the hope for the future that that was supposed to come later. So my prediction is that at least for this, whether it's going to be shown in the DLC or whether it's going to be a completely new game that's going to be a different storyline, maybe it's called something else, I don't know. But it's going to be obviously something involving Lucio and the Black Box. And definitely something that's going to be involving the Dandelions in some way. That's going to be one of my predictions because we never actually had closure on that regard, and those are still just opening up. Like we had a little bit of a closure on what happened with like Aqua and Terra. We had a little bit of like a closure of not the best closure, but a little bit of a closure on like the Sora, Kairi, Riku story. But that was still something that was left kind of wide open, and that's something they can definitely bring in more content to explain that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that is one of the big things that they didn't explain very well. I'm just trying to figure out then, how does that, like, what are they going to do with that? Because I understand what you're saying, and it obviously from the DLC trailer that we've seen, there has to be some answers within that. But then what I'm trying to figure out is, so how does that relate to present time with Sora and Riku and Roxas and Aqua and Kairi and all of these characters? Like, their storylines...
This might just be...
No, go on.
Yeah. I was going to say, this might be my prediction, but I think they're going to deviate away from them now. Because they kind of finished their storylines to an extent. Again, there's still a mystery with what happened with Sora searching for Kairi. And Riku, like, he's pretty much done. I mean, like, he had his, like, evil side kind of work with him to an extent in that final May segment. And are working together now. I think they're gonna, they might address it at some point, but I think that they're gonna be, I think personally my prediction is they're gonna shift the story, where their part of the story is more done, and they're gonna shift to something different, where they might have like a cameo, or maybe like some side game or something, maybe a mobile game where they're gonna have Sora in there, I don't know. But I do think that they're gonna shift the story away from the main three protagonists of Sora, Kairi, Riku, onto maybe the Masters and other like hanging around Organization 13 members.
Sure, right. I think I understand that, but then I'm just confused because if the whole point of the DLC is like, well, Roxas, Aqua, Sora, all playable characters, right?
Yeah.
Then how? I mean, are you just saying you deviate from the plot of Kingdom Hearts 3?
I think they take what happens at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 to jump into a new kind of story overall, I think. So it's not going to be... So, like, their saga kind of got finished. Now we're going to jump off with... The Masters are going to hop back in on why are they coming back now of all times? Why does Lucio call them back? Probably won't get the answers of... Because I think one of the obvious ones is... I want to know what's in that stupid box. Because, I mean, it's just... It's hiding from me, and I just want to know what it is. I don't even think Nomura knows what is going on in that box, but... It's a big plot device that hasn't been addressed yet. And it was at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, which was a theoretical quote-unquote the end. So I'm thinking that it's going to have to springboard from that with the Masters with Xigbar and going on, which I'm fine. I like Xigbar a lot in all of the games that I've played with him in there. So I'm very curious to see how it goes.
So, and all this is fine. So, and I guess we've already spoiled that in Kingdom Hearts 3, so whatever. Is Kairi just, like, fucking dead now then? Like, what happens with that whole plot point with her being gone now?
That's tough, man. I do think that... Well, you're right. They gotta address that somehow.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, if Sora's going to be going off on this new quest, I can't imagine he would do that without trying to pursue Kairi in some way first, right? Like,
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So is Kairi's situation going to be involved in this somehow? That maybe she's going to end up somehow with the Masters or in something like this? I don't know. But I feel like the Kingdom Hearts 3 did not end with everything answered. There were still questions.
Yes.
So if this DLC is going to take place after Kingdom Hearts 3 and be a new plot points, are we just going to skip over all those unanswered questions and just pretend like they didn't happen?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think in this one, this would be more of like a Kingdom Hearts 4 springboard. I think Kingdom Hearts 3, like the DLC that they're doing, I'm not sure if it's going to give like a little bit of an like a different twist on what could have happened at the end. I think this is my personal prediction. All I think that the DLC is going to do is really just give you the ability to play as other players in that kind of final scenario. That's all I think it's going to be. So, like, you can play as Roxas, you can play as Aqua. Maybe you'd be able to play as, I don't know, maybe you can choose to be Ventus or something. But I personally don't, this is my personal prediction, is I don't think anything's going to really change hard story-wise. I think they're going to keep the story ending the same, and then for Kingdom Hearts 4, they'll just springboard from there. I think the main part of the DLC would just be to play as the other characters. But that's just my impressions.
Right. I guess that's what is confusing me, because I guess I'm trying to figure out the purpose of the DLC then. Is it just that? Are we going to learn anything new about anything? Because if it's just a springboard to Kingdom Hearts 4, my issue with that is, good Lord, that's far away, right? Like, so
yeah, that's years down the road.
I think you'd think a springboard would come up the way Fragmentary Passage did, where the springboard shows up a couple years before the game comes out. Like, what's the point of having a springboard, presumably like 10 years before the game comes out? You know?
Right. Like Borderlands, they had a new little story mission in Borderlands 2 to tease for Borderlands 3 that's coming out this year.
Right.
Because it would make no sense that you would have no development at all for 4 and have this be a promotion for it, because by the time 4 would become relative, we'd have already either forgotten about the DLC and not care, or just wouldn't really get us any extra hype.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to more answer questions that were left unanswered versus trying to get on a hype train.
Well, then I guess sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, because they already know that Kingdom Hearts fans are dedicated as hell. They waited roughly 1 million years for this third game to come out.
Give or take, yeah. Well, I guess my question then is, what questions do you think are going to be answered then? Because they're not going to answer every question unless they're going to also raise other ones. So I'm wondering, is there anything specific that you think would get answered in this DLC if it's going to be, if there's anything that has to be answered?
You know, it would have made sense if they did the opposite of what we're saying. Everything with the masters in the black box, that stuff shouldn't be answered. Because I could see that being the base for, like, a new trilogy, right? Because
I would agree.
So let's leave that for
quote-unquote trilogy. 10-game trilogy, man.
Right? Well, but I mean, like, the Kyrie thing is what should be answered initially, because that, I hate what happened with Kyrie at the end. Like, that, I didn't wait 13 years for a cliffhanger, you know? So
yeah, that Kyrie thing left a sour taste in my mouth.
They shouldn't have done that, and so that's what annoys me about this game. So I would rather them answer that, so that plot point is dealt with, and then the masters in the black box and all of that is what springboards us into Kingdom Hearts 4 down the road. Because I think that whole plot, you can introduce a brand new villain through that. You can introduce a whole brand new plot. Whatever's in that black box, they can... It doesn't matter what's in the black box.
It's an evil genie.
It really could be. It could be literally anything.
It's Genie from Aladdin.
Oh, I would love that.
He just wishes for the Keyblade back.
No, but like, whatever's in that black box, you can use that to propel the next game. So...
Oh, there's like infinite possibilities on what you can do with the plot just with that.
Right, so...
They already laid the groundwork for Kingdom Hearts 4 down the road if they wanted to.
Right. So that's why in my head I'm trying to think, like, that should be that. The Kyrie thing is what I want solved now. Because if they're going to propel into this new plot with the black box and everything, then start fresh. Don't start with already one of the main characters, like, missing. I don't know. I want that Kyrie situation solved. I think that's extraordinarily unlikely to happen. Yeah. But it's what I would like to happen. It's what I think the right thing to do would be.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, your prediction is more, you're thinking that it's going to be, like, you fight as the other characters, the situation ends, but immediately it kind of, like, has a time gap, and then you're Sora, basically, going into the future, and that's going to be the continuation of the DLC. This DLC is like, what the hell happened with Kyrie?
I mean, it's funny, because what you say sounds so absurd, but that's just as likely as really anything, isn't it? Like, yeah. I mean, the answer is going to be something absurd. It's not going to be something normal. Kingdom Hearts plots are never normal.
Never.
So really, that's the thing, I guess, is anyone's guess is as good as anyone's, because it really could be anything. They have never really played by any consistent rules.
Oh yeah, they never kept like the story on on the same consoles. They kept jumping around and had crucial plot points there too. It's it's a very hard series to follow, but I do think that's kind of nice about it. You sometimes don't know what you're going to get. There's a little bit of a curveball every now and then, and I do enjoy that.
Right.
And they have and again, they did preface like the whole situation with with the old masters, Lucio Zigbar, and also with Luxord. With Luxord didn't really have a big role. Like, he was kind of a minor villain in Kingdom Hearts 2, and it would be interesting to see him as a higher to have him get a little more relevance. But I mean, he's got just as much of like a role in my mind as like Vexen or like Marluxia. Like, he was just a member of Organization 13. You fought him, cool. You fought him. It's like there was never anything that really compelled me to think of Luxord as more of a bigger villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like, instead of Luxord, I would have rather had some. I mean, I guess it wouldn't have worked out because what happened with Syx at the end of the fight. I would have thought Syx would have been a better person in that kind of situation.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, because really that's what Zigbar was too at the start. Like, in 358 over 2 days, I never expected him to be more than what he was.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, you saw a little bit more that made him seem a little testy. But, like, really for a while, he just seemed like a normal organization member. And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, I'm half Xehanort, and I'm like the big honcho behind a lot of this stuff. I'm like, okay. So it's funny, because, like, Luxord, for all we know, could end up being, like, even higher than Zigbar, you know? Like, maybe Luxord's the ultimate villain, or maybe we'll find out, like, it was one of the other guys. Like, I don't know. Kingdom Hearts is so weird with their characters, because they have no problem taking a non-relevant character and making them, like, super relevant out of nowhere.
And I will say, though, I do think that Zigbar wasn't as much out of nowhere as the other ones were. Like, you did get to see a little bit of his backstory of like what happened after the events of when he met Ansem, or I guess he called himself Xehanort or whatnot at that time, when he was a student, when he like in Birth by Sleep, where he's like, I'm already half Xehanort. Like, they did give him bigger roles. I don't think Luxord or anyone else had that treatment going up, but I think the only other organization members that really had a bigger role were the ones that were focused on in 358 over 2 days, which was Axel, which was Roxas, which was Xion. Those other ones, like Luxord, just kind of like, he's there. He's not. I don't hate him.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'd be kind of disappointed if he's the one who turns out to be a big bad guy later on.
Yeah. I don't know if he necessarily will be. I mean, like, I don't know. Vexen had his role, because Vexen was a pretty big one.
Vexen was big. I would agree with that. He had the replica experiments going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess, because maybe that's their idea, right? Is Luxord was pretty irrelevant, so maybe they're like, so let's do something with him now, you know? Let's give him some interesting backstory. I don't know. I don't know what Kingdom Hearts thinks half the time.
Yeah, which is why it's fun to predict it, because it's like it is like almost like a toss up, but every so often you'll find one who's like, oh wow, that actually did happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this. I mean, obviously this is pretty close after the game's done, but I don't know. I think it's fun to discuss. Do you guys have any other predictions before we wrap it up?
Mickey Mouse is actually evil.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Hey. He had the Organization 13 coat on.
He did.
It's possible.
I want to see him kill Goofy.
Multiple times.
He's the other half of Xehanort.
Donald Duck assassinates Yen Sid.
Oh, I would love it. Just give me something dark.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so good. Well, we're gonna end it with that then. Either way, thank you all for joining us. This is just a quick Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC predictions or Kingdom Hearts 4. Let us know what you think. Comment section below if you're excited for it. I'm sure we're not going to see anything for multiple years besides this DLC, and hopefully the DLC is good.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Can I just give a highly sarcastic prediction for Kingdom Hearts 4?
Please.
So they're gonna hear our cry of like, why do we even do these gummy ship missions? And then they look at what all Disney owns, and they'll be like, we've never used Star Wars yet. So they're gonna replace gummy ships with pod races. And
I'm with you.
You can do it where it's either you just race to the other planet, or you can even like have some obstacles that you actually have to shoot some shit too.
I'll put the nail in the coffin, Travis. It's gonna be the best game ever.
Travis, the second you said they're going to hear our cry, it became bullshit. The second you said they're going to listen to anything anyone says, you just... It was.
I said it was going to be highly sarcastic anyway.
Hey, you know, it's a predictions video. We'll throw it has to happen eventually. But yes, that does it for us. Unless you guys want to say anything else.
Bye.
Bye.